Hey, good night. And this is a review of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood episode 2. And episode 2 is very, very interesting. It actually shows a lot of the world we need to be introduced to understand what is going on. And something else that happens a lot in this anime that not a lot of animes do actually. Edward and Alphonse are actually kids. They actually behave like kids. They actually think like kids. How many animes do we know, especially in the 2010s, I think, where the kids are basically adults. They basically do whatever adults do, and they behave like adults, and they're basically, effing each other like adults. And these animes in special, they really take care of actually making these kids, kids. They behave like kids, they have the same mindset as kids, and they grow as kids. Actually, something else you will notice over time in this anime, Edward especially, he grows a lot. You can actually see his attitude just change over the seasons. And in the last season, he's very quiet, very stoic, very manly actually. Well, let's be fucking honest here. And something else that happens a lot in episode 2. Well, the tragedy, of the alchemy of Edward and Alphonse trying to bring their mom back, which is really sad. But that also highlights, them being human, them being just kids, just trying to get their mother back, It's really, really cool. And something else that shows actually that is very interesting that I don't think a lot of people actually notice. If you notice in the exam when Edward meets the Fuhrer, Edward doesn't know the Fuhrer. That just shows the countryside in the country doesn't really know, what happens in the capital. The capital is just not far-reaching enough and is not controlling enough for people to just know what is going on. The media is not that efficient, so there's no way of knowing the politicians and knowing all that is going on in their own country. And that's something we also gotta realize. We're just spoiled today because we can get a lot of news nowadays. Doesn't mean they're good, they're high quality, but they're there. You can kind of know something about politics. And 50 years ago, there wasn't any of that. I'm not saying that just because it's in the anime. I'm saying that because that's what happened in the world, dude, up to now. And this anime actually highlights that really very well, which is really cool. And something else that I gotta highlight that took me a long time to notice because I'm kind of literal, so I don't really notice a lot of context. It is, if you actually notice, the technology they use to war in this anime is basically World War One, between World War One and World War Two, and they're clearly going through some really big technological expansions. And something else that happens: the alchemy that we see in the anime actually gets very analogous to the type of weapons they were testing in World War One. With the elements, flamethrowers, poison, all of this, explosions, all of the alchemy we see, they're basically that. They're messing up with iron, they're trying explosions, they're trying a lot of things that, in the 19th century there wasn't. So if you really think about it, Fullmetal Alchemist it's kind of giving a clever way of just saying, man, people must have thought that what we were doing in World War One and World War Two was essentially alchemy because it was kind of magic, and it kind of is actually. So that was really cool. That is a really cool element that shows in the anime and it shows in the second episode too. And the second episode is very interesting because it introduced everything. It introduced Winry, and Winry is a very interesting character too, in the way. And this is the first time actually that I really appreciated the second episode because To me, the first and the third one always showed me more elements. And something else that happens that is really interesting, if you notice in the second episode, right? Mustang finds Edward and Alphonse in the mess, and really, if you see it, the only reason Edward and Alphonse became great alchemists was to bring their mom back. And the only and of course, because of that, they became state alchemists. So they got a very high goal, and they failed miserably, and they were awful. But because of that failure, they got to way higher grounds than they could ever get to at 12 years old. Dude, there's a huge lesson there. There's a huge lesson right there, where if you aim high enough, even if you fail, with everything you learned, you can actually get, further, or you can get to other places you would never imagine you could get to. It's very interesting. So those are the lessons I found on episode 2. I'm not gonna make just these ridiculously long videos and talk about nothing. These are the lessons I got. I hope you like the channel. Please subscribe if you liked it. If you liked the episode, please like the video, and thank you very much.